Okay, so last question, and this is the controversy that I alluded to earlier, and that's my thoughts on the exchange between Axelsen and Shi Yu Qi, in brackets, Axelsen's serve. So let me quickly explain the situation for anyone that didn't see it. I think this situation all kind of came to a head right at the beginning of the third game at love all. Um, Now I've heard different people that it was Shi Yu Qi. Basically, it looked like Victor went to change shuttle without asking Shi Yu Qi, but I don't think that was necessarily the issue. I think before that, Shi Yu Qi was obviously going over to the service judge, I think, to talk to him about Axelsen's serve, because obviously, as we know, Axelsen does this side to side motion, and he does take quite a while to serve. Even Jill Clark in his earlier matches was going, surely that's a fault because of the new ruling where it's not necessarily illegal to do this, but you can't cause undue delay. So if you're doing it obviously too long, you're taking too long to serve, and technically that's something that the new rules have been put in place because we started to see, obviously we've seen Shetty do that, Certain J to an extent does that, but Victor's probably the worst culprit. He's done it for a number of years, and I think Shi Yu Qi obviously maybe was getting a little bit kind of like, why haven't they been called, and just had a few words with the service judge as he was doing it. Victor noticed that, obviously got himself involved. They had a few words. I wouldn't necessarily call it heated. If you think that's heated, then that's a little bit, yeah. But they had an exchange. Obviously, the umpire got involved, called them over. And then it carried on and all this kind of stuff. And then obviously from there, I definitely saw a few things where there were a few odd glances from Victor after certain points and all that kind of thing. And again, after the match ended, when she had won, when they were shaking hands, again, they were just talking a little bit, etc. So that was kind of the situation. And it kind of has blown up online a little bit, people calling out Victor for unsporting behaviour, disgusting behaviour, all that kind of stuff. For me, what I want to start with is that both players have admitted in interviews that that kind of thing, although we don't always see like arguments like that on court, but it's something that is just purely something that happens on court. It's just a situation that happens in the match, and it happens. Players want to win, emotions can run high, and obviously sometimes it can spill over a little bit. But both players don't hold anything against it. It's just something. I think Shi Chi said it's something normal for a match. Victor said, yeah, no, it's just, that's just, we both really want to win, and sometimes it spills over. Off court, we've got no issue with each other. So I think it's really important to clarify that I don't think this is going to affect their relationship off the court. I don't know whether they have one, but I know obviously Victor speaks Mandarin, so they've probably exchanged words and spoken to each other, and I'm sure they're not going to start hating each other and avoiding each other in the hallway and all that kind of stuff because of one little situation in the match. In terms of my thoughts on it, I just thought it was rather unnecessary. From kind of both players, I understand Shi Yu Chi's frustration that, deeming it should be a fault, so maybe he's every right to just kind of have a quick word. But again, we always have the umpire going, you can't go up to the service judge and ask them and talk this stuff. There's something that you're not necessarily supposed to do. For me, I think Axelsen coming over and getting kind of in Chi Chi's face in that respect, again, unnecessary. For me, the way I saw it was, if I was Victor, again, it's easy to say this because when you're in the heat of the moment and it's a competitive match and there's a lot on the line, you really want to do well, especially Victor, who's in front of his home crowd, his hometown, and this is his first tournament back. He really wants to do well. It's just gone to 3. You got to kind of put yourself in those shoes. You can't always control your emotions like 100% perfectly. I don't think we should hold people to those saint-like standards. But the way I saw it was, okay, Shiichi's going to the service judge. Clearly, he's a little bit flustered by this. I've got the upper hand, so let's just stay calm. Let him talk. Let him talk. If the service judge starts calling, the umpire starts calling me, then we need to kind of go with that situation. But I think he could have just gone, right, okay, let's hold it in. He's clearly rattled. I've got the upper hand, and go from there. And because Victor's quite an emotional person, and actually I think the reason he actually inevitably lost that third game is that situation got to him, and he ended up having a really bad start. So I think getting involved like that didn't do him any good. It got his emotions too high, and he wasn't able to control it, and it kind of got away from him. But yeah, no. So for me, like I said, I felt it was rather unnecessary, a little petty. But again, in these situations, like both players admitted, this is the kind of thing that can happen in a competitive match, especially a semi-final of a Super 750, etc. I just don't. necessarily agree with people painting Viktor as an unsportsmanlike person or suddenly calling him out for disgusting behaviour. I wouldn't go that far. I would simply rule it as unnecessary. In terms of the serve itself, this is the last thing I'll say, is I know the new rule is all about undue delay. There's actually no technical rule about doing that because it's all about one motion with the serve. Okay? For me, I think the stop clock is going to put an end to it. Obviously, umpires should be calling this and all that stuff, but it's a little bit subjective. With the stop clock, if it does that and he hasn't served and his time's gone, obviously then it's a clear fault. That adds more objectivity to the situation. I think it's going to help the umpires, and obviously it's going to be, a good thing for players. And there's an objective thing they got to abide by. At the moment, the ruling, although it's there technically, it's far too subjective, and it obviously comes down to how the umpires are going to call it. So yeah, no, I think that's all I can really say on that. So I think I'll end there and say thank you for watching.